Hi, I'm Susan Peppercorn. The world has changed in ways we could barely have predicted just a few short weeks ago since the outbreak of the COVID-19. We're all feeling out of control, and understandably so. So my goal today is to give you some tips for building your resilience. So let's get started. So let's talk about what resilience actually is. Resilience is something that we really don't even think about until we need it. And resilience is the art of bouncing back. People who have tools in their toolkit, when they come up against challenging situations, bounce back faster than others. So my goal is to give you some of those tools today. And there were really three tools or tool sets that I want to discuss. The first is heart set, mindset, and skill set. So what are they? So heart set is really your emotions. And what I want to say to you here is that now more than ever, it's important, as my teacher Tal Ben-Shahar says, to give yourself permission to be human. So what does this mean? It means don't squelch your feelings down. If you're feeling anxious, fearful, it's okay. Allow those feelings to be and name them to tame them. So what does this mean? The first thing is, if you notice that your body feels stressed, you feel a knot in your stomach or shallow breathing, think about, what am I actually feeling? And give it a name. Am I feeling anxious? Am I fearful? Am I worried? And by giving the feeling a name, you're actually putting a pause between the feeling itself and your reaction to it. And by doing so, you're demystifying it, and you realize that it's temporary. This too shall pass. The second thing that I want to talk about is based on the work of Kristin Neff, a psychologist. And it's about self-compassion. Now more than ever, we need to be compassionate toward ourselves, because if we're not compassionate toward ourselves, we can't be toward other people. So what does this mean? So the first thing, as I was saying previously, is to be mindful and without judgment, notice what you're feeling and say, this situation is stressful. This situation worries me. And realize, too, that you're not alone. So you may feel isolated. I mean, we all feel a modicum of that right now, being indoors a lot. But realize that everyone is feeling this way. And then third, be kind to yourself. So how can you do this? Well, one way you can do this is by putting your hand on your heart and you say, I accept myself as I am. That may feel a little odd, but try it, because really we all need to be self-accepting at this moment. Now, if we allow our negative emotions to come through, one of the things that happens is also make space for positive emotions to flow. And that's a really good thing. And don't feel guilty if and when that happens, because what psychologists have found, and this is the slide that you see is based upon the work of Barbara Fredrickson at the University of North Carolina, is that positive emotions actually build on themselves. And what her work has shown is that if you allow yourself to feel joy, gratitude, happiness, that it allows for greater creativity and happier relationships, more fulfilling relationships. And actually her research has shown too that people who experience these joy-filled feelings are not only happier, but healthier. So allow that joy to flow as well. Now, I want to talk about mindset, or your thoughts your cognition. So, we tend to, especially at moments of challenge, see the negatives in situations. And again, this is understandable. If we have family members who are ill, we're going to worry about them. But at the same time, there's room for the and. What does that mean? It means that even during times of challenge, there are things that are going well. So, if you look at the graphic on this slide, you can see on the left-hand side, we can see a situation as the principle of defeat, or the person who's hanging off the cliff as a comfortable place to rest your hand. And so in every situation, there is a way to reframe it or another way to look at it. So, for example, clients have told me recently that now that they're spending more time at home, there are some benefits that they have found. And so what might some of those be? Well, do you find that you're not commuting as long as you had been before? There's a benefit. Are you exercising more because maybe you have time to do that? There's a benefit. Do you enjoy being home with your family members more than you had the time to do it before? Or are you indulging in some other activities that maybe you didn't have time for? That's a way of reframing. So if you find yourself kind of getting down in the doldrums, again, think about, is there another way to look at the situation that you're in? I want to talk about distraction for a moment. We're so goal-oriented that we tend to think of distraction as negative, but really, why? It's not. And especially at this time when the news is so distressing and negative, and we wake up to, increasing statistics of this growing pandemic, we all need distraction. So whether it be, watching comedy shows, listening to music, and boy, there's been a burst of creativity around music and artists who have had to stop touring, so they're streaming concerts online, and wow, they've been fantastic. Virtual happy hours or virtual book reading groups. Or taking a course online. Pick whatever lifts you up and do it. Now, let me talk about some specific skills that you can take advantage of, and some of my favorites. So the first I want to talk about is expressing gratitude. There's a huge body of research around the benefits of expressing gratitude. And what you see depicted here is a journal which says 3 good things. You can't see the word things on this slide. And journaling is a way of expressing gratitude. So you can write down, for example, 3 good things that you notice each day. Or you can write down 3 things that you're grateful for. Now, for myself, I was not born with the happy gene, so I tend to be a worrier. And this is a practice that I actually started myself and found it very helpful. And if you choose to do this, I will tell you that it's something that you need to keep up. If you do it for a day or 2, you're not going to see much difference. But if you do it for, let's say, a month or more, you can actually change your brain neurology. So for someone like me who's a worrier, when I did this for about 5 or 6 months, I noticed that my worrying was lessened because I was noticing positive things that were always there, but I just wasn't paying attention to them. So some other ways in which you can do this is if there's a person to whom you feel a special amount of appreciation, you can write them a letter or an email of gratitude. And what the research shows is that not only will the recipient benefit from what you write to them or express to them, but you as the sender will benefit as well, both in mental and physical well-being. So that's one thing that you can try. Another thing that I want to talk about is using your strengths during challenging times. Again, this is based in research in positive psychology. And what you're seeing here is a list of 24 character strengths that were developed by an organization called via.org. And down at the bottom of the slide, you'll see a URL. And you can actually go to this website, and if you don't know what your strengths are, you can take a free assessment and you'll get a report back that lists your character strengths in the order of strengths, in the order of their strength for you. So why is this important? What research has shown is that people who use their strengths are happier and feel more satisfied with their lives. This is true in all situations, but it's particularly true during times of challenge. What the research has shown specifically is that people who use one of their signature strengths, so that means a top strength, one of their signature strengths a day, again, feel happier and feel a greater satisfaction with life. So how can you do this? Well, if you think of a time when you were able to overcome or handle a major challenge, think about how you can do that today. What's a strength that you've used in the past? What did you draw upon? And bring to mind that image of what it was that you were doing at the time. And how did that make you resilient? What did you learn about yourself in the process of doing it? And how might you apply that strength now? I also want to talk to you about two other interventions, one being mindfulness and the other being exercise. Now, mindfulness is what I've depicted by walking, and exercise, obviously, you can see on the right side. Now, notice on the left side, I did not choose a picture with someone sitting cross-legged on a cushion, and I did that for a reason. I am a lapsed meditator. I just find it extremely difficult to meditate, though I have great admiration for people who do. So what I want to say to you, again, this is based in research, is that people who take part in a mindfulness type of activity, again, benefit tremendously from it in terms of building their resilience. But it doesn't have to be meditation per se. So what is a mindfulness activity? A mindfulness activity can be anything that stops your monkey brain from chattering. It brings you into the moment where whatever you're doing is what you're concentrating on. So it can be walking, it can be bicycling, it can be gardening, it can be sitting with your pet and stroking that pet, your cat, your dog, whatever it might be. So it could be painting if you're an artist. It could be making music if you're a musician. So it doesn't have to be just one thing, but engaging in a mindfulness activity is hugely beneficial. So too is exercise. And though our gyms of preference are closed, and a client told me the other day that she cried when her yoga studio closed, and I too cried when my gym closed, you can still exercise. There are many online streaming services that you can take advantage of, and if the weather is good, get out or walk or whatever exercise is your preference, but now is not the time to give it up. And that's the point that I really want to make here. Last but not least, the number one predictor of life satisfaction, wellness, and resilience are relationships. And so cultivate those relationships in whatever way brings you joy and happiness. I love this picture. It just made me happy looking at it. And it also made me think about putting together a kitchen cabinet, a personal board of directors. So if you're trying to achieve a career goal, putting those types of groups together might be really useful for you. Or if it's just personal relationships that you want to bolster, you can use these video technologies like Zoom to do that. Have a video coffee chat, a video book group, a video happy hour, and on and on and on. So now we're so lucky to have these video technologies where we can stay in touch with people, and so cultivate those relationships so that they work for you. So just to summarize, I want to just go over some of the things that we talked about. We talked about gratitude journaling, meditation or mindfulness, some of the skills that that I talked about, sharing the love in terms of building relationships, and exercising. So just to know how you can stay in touch with me, how to connect with me, I have a website, which is positiveworkplacepartners.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, Susan Peppercorn at LinkedIn. I also have a Facebook page, and I'm on Twitter. So you can connect with me at one of these or all of these. So I really, really appreciate you taking the time to join me today, and I wish you all the best.